Hey guys, welcome back to the channel McNallie Money, home of all things stock, investment, and personal finance related. Now, as you can see, the background's a little bit different today. I'm on vacation with the family in Los Angeles, but I've got a really exciting company I wanted to bring to your attention. The name is Arctic Fox Ventures, and there's a lot going on with this company that we're going to cover in today's video. Now, before we get into it, please take a second, hit the like button, you guys. It's a big help to myself and the channel. If you're not already subscribed, McNallie Money, feel free to join. We'd love to have you. And with that being said, let's get into today's video. Okay guys, so that's right. Today's video, we're going to be covering Arctic Fox Ventures Incorporated. As you can see here, trades on the CSE in Canada under the ticker AFX.CN. Now, fairly strong day for them. They were up about 6.25% or 1 cent per share to close out at 17 cents Canadian. This trades on the Canadian Securities Exchange, and this is a super exciting one for a number of reasons, as mentioned in the intro, that we're going to talk about in today's video. Now, I've got a 1-month chart pulled up here. You can see they've been trading in a range from about 12 cents back on January 20th to a high of about 20 or 21 cents on January 26th. So you are able to pick up shares at a fairly attractive price point right now. And the reason I wanted to get this video out is I've actually had a number of subscribers talking about some of the recent events or news that we're going to cover in today's presentation as it relates to Arctic Fox Ventures. And you can actually see that press release here came out 9 days ago. If we jump over there, you guys, so Arctic Fox is a junior mining exploration company, and they just made a definitive agreement to actually acquire the Cana Lithium project in the James Bay region of Quebec. Now, why this is super important is this really opens up a whole new realm of investment opportunity, because as we know and as we've talked about in previous videos, lithium is a key requirement or ingredient in a lot of battery production, and this is a core battery metal which has seen a tremendous amount of investor attention as we start to see the ramp up in electric vehicles around North America and really worldwide. So the article goes on to say Arctic Fox Ventures Incorporated is pleased to announce they've entered into a definitive agreement with Pipeline Capital Corporation to acquire 37 active mineral claims located in the James Bay region of Quebec. And these claims as a whole are referred to as the Cana Lithium project, which consists of more than 2,100 hectares of land. Now, the deal or agreement is made up of a combination of shares, so common shares, 12 million common shares, which are going to be issued to the existing shareholders of Pipeline, plus $150,000 cash, which is split up into 3 payments, so $50,000 on close date, an additional $50,000 90 days out from close, and the final $50,000 180 days out from close. And as a result, Arctic Fox Ventures is going to be the sole shareholder of Pipeline, which is expected or anticipated to take place on or before the end of this year, January 31st, 2023. Now, Harry Chu, who's the president and CEO of Arctic Fox, we're actually going to take a look at him a little bit later in the presentation, goes on to say, I'm very pleased that we're able to close on the acquisition of what we view to be a very prospective lithium property in the James Bay region of Quebec. And as mentioned, lithium is a super hot topic right now in the investment community, and this really propels Arctic Fox Ventures into a whole new realm of investment opportunity. Now, they then go on to talk about the property or the asset in a little bit more detail. So the Cana Lithium project, again, is located in the James Bay region of Quebec, which is historically very rich for lithium and lithium deposits. And what's exciting about this asset is during the summer and fall of last year, they actually already conducted a survey program which showed very promising results, as you can see laid out in more detail in this press release. Now, we've covered a number of these lithium-related or lithium-focused exploration companies on the channel previously. I think by market cap, Arctic Fox is the smallest, so this is a micro or nano cap company. And what I like about these type of organizations is you're really able to get in at the ground floor in a super exciting and high growth industry before it hits the radar of institutional or large scale investors when you really start to see those big moves in share price. And that's really a perfect segue to this article here from miningstockresearch.com. I'll leave a link in the video description below talking about that exciting growth opportunity or potential for Arctic Fox. So the article is titled, "Could this be Canada's next lithium exploration stock to explode? Its neighbor to the close north just made a historic 3,116% move. See why now could be the best time to start your research on Arctic Fox Ventures Incorporated, again trading on the CSE under the ticker AFX. And that's exactly why I wanted to get this video out, because I think this one has the potential to move and move quickly if and when the investment community really starts to find out about this very exciting and captivating story. Now they have a direct link here to that press release, again, which came out January 30th, which we just looked at, and they then go on to talk about 7 reasons why they believe Arctic Fox Ventures could be poised for significant upside potential in the early part of this year or 2023. Now, for those of you who aren't super familiar with Arctic Fox or the mining sector in general, this is a junior mining exploration company, again, headquartered in Canada. And in addition to that big Cana Lake lithium project we talked about, they also hold an option to acquire 60% rights in the Spius copper property, which is located in the Nicola and New Westminster mining divisions of British Columbia, so out on the west coast. They're formerly known as Arctic Fox Interactive. They changed their name back in 2020 to Arctic Fox Ventures, and again, a lot going on with this organization, especially considering the size of this company. So the first of the 7 factors listed in the article here is, of course, that big Cana Lake lithium acquisition, which, as we just learned, represents about 37 active mineral claims located in the James Bay region of Quebec. The second point listed is significant potential related to the geographic location of this Cana Lake lithium project, specifically its close proximity to the Corvette lithium property, which is owned by Patriot Battery Metals, which we've talked about on the channel. That's actually the company which is up in excess of 3,100% after hitting lows back in April of 2022 around 55 cents and reaching an intraday high of $17.69 on February 6th. So that's exactly what I'm referring to when we talk about explosive growth potential. 3,100%, you guys, in a matter of 12 months is absolutely mind-blowing, and that's what you get with a lot of these micro and nano cap companies if and when the investment community picks up on the story. Now, in addition to that, Arctic Fox Ventures has an extremely low float, so a low number of shares that are available to the general public. And according to MarketWatch.com, the total number of public shares available, or the public float, is just shy of about 18 million shares. The fourth point here really relates to market cap. So again, I mentioned this is considered a nano cap company or nano cap stock. And because they have such a small market cap, that really gives the ability for the share price to move in a meaningful way, or as they state, has a higher potential to change valuation quickly or rapidly. So you can see how all 3 of these points are really interconnected. It's a nano cap company. They've got an extremely low float and significant upside potential, like we've seen with other penny and nano cap companies in this space. The 5th and 6th point really have to do with the underlying asset itself. So lithium. Lithium is running into a problematic supply-demand situation again, which we've talked about on the channel. There's a huge push really led by Tesla towards the electric vehicle space, and as a result, a big demand for the input materials that are required to make these electric batteries. And one of the bigger, more recent events here is Tesla actually having to renegotiate a lithium supply deal with a prominent miner by the name of Piedmont Lithium, because a proposed mine in North Carolina has gotten bogged down in regulatory red tape. So that's why a lot of companies are now looking at Canada to start to supply or offset the supply of lithium. The 6th point here, we talked about soaring demand for electric vehicles. Cobalt, nickel, graphite, and lithium are key inputs to create the batteries that power these electric vehicles, and it's expected by the year 2040 they're going to require about 30 times as much lithium, nickel, and other key minerals or inputs to really support this industry and the electric vehicle growth over the next few decades. And then the final point here is really focused on the management team, as we just saw remarks from the CEO Harry Chu in that last article. And as a group, the management team at Arctic Fox has over 100 years collective experience in financing, management, and mineral exploration, which is really a testament to the team that's been assembled at this organization. Now, what I love about this research report and a lot of the articles available on miningstocksresearch.com is they then go on to build out each one of these bullish catalysts in a little bit more detail. So that's what we're going to talk about next up in the video. Now, the first one relates to the chart from Patriot Battery Metals, as you can see on the screen here, which was trading sub $1 and now hit an intraday high in excess of $17, representing a 3,100% move. And as we've talked about in previous videos, for these micro or nano cap companies, specifically in the resource space, when they're in the right place at the right time with the right team assembled, they have the ability to see their share price move exponentially, especially when big news or major catalysts come out, like we saw in that article related to the Cana Lithium project. So again, very timely here, you guys, and one of the main reasons I wanted to get this video out this week so you guys can start doing your research on this organization and hopefully take part in a major run like we saw with Patriot Battery Metals. Now, building on that, they then start to talk about the low public float that's available. And whereas we see some of the bigger companies, so the blue chips of the world, have floats in excess of billions and billions of shares, companies that have a public float in the neighborhood of 10 to 20 million shares are generally looked at as having a low float by the investment community. And what that means when you look at supply and demand is there just aren't a lot of shares to go around when investors want to get a piece of this company. So with Arctic Fox coming in at 17.85 million shares, they definitely fit the bill here. And whether you're looking at their market cap of about $4.5 million, their public share count, or the fact that they fit into that nano cap category, it really starts to make a strong case for that supply and demand imbalance. And as they specifically call out here, one of the reasons you should be very interested in starting your research on Arctic Fox Ventures. Now, obviously a low float and small market cap aren't the only things that make a company, and that's why this Cana Lithium project is so critical to the success of Arctic Fox Ventures moving forward. And again, you can see that proximity here. This is a map of Quebec of the new Arctic Fox location in relation to some of the other assets, whether you're talking about Winsome Resources, Patriot Metals, Galaxy Resources, or Q2 Metals that are operating in this area. And as we've talked about in other videos related to mining, resource exploration, and specifically lithium, you want to be in areas that are known or have a historic relationship with these assets, because generally when you find one of these resources, there's more in the area, and you've also got access to an extreme amount of expertise in these mining communities that have a long-standing relationship with mining, exploration, and resource development. Not to mention, Canada in general is known as a very friendly mining jurisdiction, and you're not going to get bogged down with a lot of that red tape or hoops to jump through like we're seeing in the United States. Now, as we mentioned earlier in the presentation, last year, so in the summer and fall of 2022, the Quebec Ministry of Natural Resources, known as MERN, identified various different trends in this region that contain muscovite, tourmaline, and garnet, which indicates a hyperluminous composition which is suitable for the development of lithium mineralization, meaning this is a very attractive and exciting opportunity for Arctic Fox Ventures. Now, in addition to that, a lot of these occurrences are large scale in size, and the occurrences found at the Cana Lake property are similar geologically to other lithium deposits found in the area, and you can see some of the grab samples found at these other locations, which came back with extremely rich lithium-bearing mineral composition, and you can see the percentages listed there. So Arctic Fox intends to immediately complete what's known as a high-resolution aromatic survey to really assist and help with the tracing and confirmation of these pegmatite occurrences, which we just talked about, and then follow up with a ground survey, which is going to include geological mapping and prospecting, along with soil and rock sampling, which is going to be completed in the second quarter of this year. So that could serve as another major catalyst for Arctic Fox Ventures if and when they come back with promising ground results. Now, as I also mentioned at the top of the article here, Arctic Fox also has the option to acquire a 60% interest in the Spius copper property located in BC, so on the west coast of Canada. And as we just saw, copper is another in-demand metal right now, with a huge increase in demand forecasted over the next couple of decades. And this Spius region is historically known for very rich copper deposits and is comprised of 6 mineral claims covering just over 2,100 hectares. And they then go on to list some of the history at this location or on this asset since the 1960s. Now what's interesting here is if you look at 2021, you can see Arctic Fox has already completed a 2-hole 453 meter drill program. So they've actually already been in the ground here and tested this location. And that's what's allowed them to notice this copper anomaly in the mineralization or composition of this asset. So whether you're talking about lithium in Quebec or copper in British Columbia, both of these assets are showing extremely promising results and could act as major catalysts moving forward for Arctic Fox Ventures. Now the article then goes on to talk about the surge in lithium demand we're seeing and the race for lithium production specifically in North America. So you can see a Tesla pictured there, obviously one of the biggest brands in the electric vehicle space. And as mentioned earlier in today's presentation, supply is extremely restricted with very few lithium producing mines in North America. Now one of the big reasons obviously for the EV push is the aggressive tax credit program that the United States government has issued over the last couple of years. However, despite the big demand surge for electric vehicles, most of the critical materials and metals are still coming from China. And you can see here the US electric vehicle sales over the last couple of years and projected out to 2030 with an extreme growth curve in this chart. Now, the United States government is searching for new sources of these metals such as lithium, cobalt, and nickel that we talked about a little bit earlier in the presentation. And last year, we also saw the United States government invoke what's known as the Defense Production Act to boost the domestic supply of battery metals, spending approximately $2.8 billion for a collective 20 companies that are working on producing EV battery materials and supply chain projects. And as a point of reference, the US only has one operational lithium mine at the time of filming and another proposed mine in Nevada, which is tied up in that red tape and being opposed by various different conservation groups. And there's a picture of the man himself, Elon Musk, which is really pushing forward to bring a lot of the lithium production, refining, and capacity onshore and pull that away from China, with plans of up to $350 million worth of investment on the lithium refinery located along the United States Gulf Coast. And that's why earlier in the presentation, I mentioned this is an absolute hotbed for the investment community, as investors, whether you're talking about retail or institutional, are trying to get a piece of the action. Now, the final thing I wanted to mention is just in relation to the management team at Arctic Fox Ventures. We saw some comments from Harry Chu. He's got over 35 years experience with corporate advisory activities, consulting services in the capital markets. And he's backed up by a rockstar team here. So Sunny Chu, who's the CFO, over 30 years consulting experience in the financial realm, and a number of other key management members that have the relationships and experience necessary to bring these type of companies really to fruition and see that big appreciation in share price that we're all searching for as investors. So for those reasons, you guys, this is definitely one, Arctic Fox Ventures, that you're going to want to keep on your watch list. Again, trades on the CSE here in Canada under the ticker AFX. A lot going on with this organization, a super exciting space to operate in, and some big catalysts on the horizon for this company. I'd be super curious to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Are you currently holding shares? Have you heard of Arctic Fox before? And how do you think they stack up to some of the other players in this space? If you're still watching the video at this point, hopefully you found some value, so make sure you hit the like button. And if you're not currently subscribed to the channel, McNallie Money, feel free to do so. We'd love to have you. That's all for now. Thanks for watching and have a great rest of your day.